Mhuri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano paZemunews update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. Sekukuzivisai kwatakaita nezuro pano paZemunews update kuti President Emmerson Mnangagwa kwanga kuine rumors rari kutendera kuti President Emmerson Mnangagwa vadzoka munyika. So nezuro manheru takazoita strong research kubva kunana comrade Soko vakatudza kuti aiwa no President Emmerson Mnangagwa havasati vadzokera kubva kunyika yeBelarus because tiri kuzwa kuti President Emmerson Mnangagwa vakabuda. So tiri kuona kuti kune vari kutrepa vari kutreka ndege dzavakabuda nadzo vari kutotaura kuti haisati yasimuka kubva kuBelarus but yakaenda negold yakatoenda yakatoenda kuDubai. So tiri kuona kuti magenerals nemaexcombatants vari kutaurawo kutoti waMnangagwa vachidzoka muno munyika yeZimbabwe vanofana kusungwa nepamusaka pekuti vakatora gold kuReserve Bank of Zimbabwe vachisainisa waJohn Mushayavanhu zvisiri pamutemo vachishandisa masimba eupresident. Chinova chiri chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka kuna President Emmerson Mnangagwa. So hatisi kuziva kuti wari kutya kudzokere because muzuva ranhasi ndo papakanzi ndo panosaina constitutional amendment bill number 3 ranga riri day hombe mhuri yeZimbabwe but zvinhu zvacho zvakuonekwa sematakanyanya. Tiri kuona kuti VP Chiwenga havamo muno vari kuAzerbaijan uko kanyika kari kuduze nekurussia pane musangano wakaenda kunopinda ikoko. So ari acting president pari zvino ndiwa Kembo Mohadi, not zvikunominatwa kuti waKembo Mohadi ndi muchasara muri acting president nekuti ndiye atorimo munyika. Vice president havamo munyika, vaMnangagwa havamo futi munyika. Muzuva ranhasi paida kusainwa constitutional amendment bill number 3 unova uri musi wa18 May iro rakagazetwa navaJacob Mudenda kuparliament mhuri yeZimbabwe ranga rakanzi richarohwa about 30 days. I think rakagazetwa kunana February ikoko I think because rakangoti vageza vachifa after 3 days 4 days vaMnangagwa vachibva kumunyika ndigere vachibva vatoenda kuparliament vachibva vatogazeta navaJacob Mudenda ranga rakarongwa navaziyambe ranga riri suppose kusainwa muzuva ranhasi. Ndofika tiri kuona vanhu vaenda kumahearing vachiita vachididi vachiita madebate nezvimwe zvinhu zvakasiyana kuti wange vachiona kuti rinofambiswa seko bumbiro remutemo iri raida kusainwa muzuva ranhasi. Tiri kuona kuti president wacho havatorimo wanga urifanira kurisaina, VP wacho vari kuri opposa havatorimo futi munyika. So hatisi kuzonyatsoziva zvakamira sei. So tira kuti tinzwe vakomana vetinawo pano vari kukriticiza Nelson Chamisa nezvaari kuita zvekutoti wamwe chikundi chese chekuopposition chiri kuti tira kuti tironge one alliance but iye ari kuzvesarudza ari kuenda kwake ega nekuti akagena crowd. So ndo vanhu pavari kuzofungidzira kuti pamweni ari kushandiswa nebato reZANU-PF kuti arambe akaisa mabreak pose. Tiri kuona kuti vanhu vemuno munyika yeZimbabwe havabhelieve mastructures, vanobhelieve personality. So tiri kuona kuti wakabhelieve muna Nelson Chamisa. So ZANU-PF yakaona kuti uyu akangomira chete vanhu vese vanobva vatokudini vanobva vatongorova mabreak chimwe hakuna munhu anozodini anozoenda mberi. Ndosaka tiri kuona pamwe ndo zvakaitika kana kuti because tiri kuona kuti Nelson Chamisa wacho havasi kutomboopodza kana kutomboita sekana kumboti pasine 2030 kana havana wakangoti pasine 2050 mazuva aya ngatiwanzo vachitaura.
What he is pointing to, I want to believe. He is saying kuti I cannot stand in my conscience and be absorbed into these issues of elites or an elite bargaining where people, right, are coming together in boardrooms, etc, and trying to form something. And he's saying, I cannot be absorbed into that. I cannot be part and parcel of that. And he is appearing as an individual who's refusing to validate alliances. That is saying that they are being staged together in boardrooms rather than an alliance that is born out of citizen agency. I want you to hear me. He is indicating that he is refusing to validate alliances, right, that are being put together, that are being staged together in boardrooms, rather than them being born out of citizen agency. And he is signaling a refusal to participate in politics that treats the public as spectators rather than stakeholders. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, there. So looking at it from that angle, he's coming across as an individual who's putting, the aspect or the issues of ego aside to say, this is not about ego, but it's about protecting the soul of the opposition, because an opposition has to be born out of genuineness. So it's more or less about him saying unity without ethics is not unity. And this is why, speaking about dealers and crooks, yesterday we were talking about issues of ethics. He seemed to be saying, if you have a coalition that is being built on expedience, that coalition cannot deliver the transformation that is needed, the transformation that is required. And if the opposition is to be credible in challenging the constitutional changes that we are facing today, the changes that touch on the very architecture of power in Zimbabwe, then that opposition must first of all establish credibility within itself. We don't want people that are not credible. We don't want people that are in there for their own benefit. That is what he's saying. And if it is framing it like that, because we've been bent, if it's framing it like that, then it can be a principled argument. It can be. But then again, there's this other side. The one that I said is probably a strategic army step. And here's my argument. Generally, or in general, politics, ladies and gentlemen, is not about purity. Politics is about power. And power, especially in an environment like ours, a constrained environment like ours, if you're talking about building an opposition, sometimes we need a coalition of ideas, coalition building. We need to sometimes compromise, and we need to coordinate. I've been reading my comments, and some people are of the notion that they're rejecting the part, this part here, that was at the center of the conversation that was had with the Daily News. Rejecting the part can be read by some as isolating oneself at a very, very important moment that calls for collective strength, and where collective strength is needed the most. And in the way that is, the language, the everything, there's a risk of deepening fragmentation in the opposition landscape that is already marked by splits, recalls, and contested legitimacy. These are the issues that are impacting and affecting the opposition in Zimbabwe. And this is coming at a time where we have got individuals, or we've got citizens who have been exhausted, or who feel exhausted by the division that is currently obtaining in the opposition ranks. So when they're looking at this rejection, they may feel like yet another chapter in a long story of missed opportunities. Hence, my question here hence my argument is this not a strategic misstep that is happening here? Are we not there? Because this is a moment where the opposition can present themselves as a united front against the constitutional amendment cap 3. And this is an amendment that many of us are arguing is going to be shaping or reshaping the balance of power. But instead, we are having a situation whereby we have got one party choosing separation over solidarity. So if I want to take that reading alone, the stance that is being taken here risks weakening the very civic resistance that is needed to defend constitutionalism, to defend cap 3. I'm not asking us to be occupied in this tension, but we are finding ourselves in this tension whereby there's a tension between principle and strategy, integrity and pragmatism, moral quality versus political calculus. Those are the three things that we are facing. Those are the three tensions that we are facing. But maybe the real question that needs to be asked is not whether one side is right or one side is wrong. Probably the real question that we need to be asking is what this moment reveals about the state of opposition politics in itself in Zimbabwe. I think we need to face that question. Because when you see a movement reaching a point where unity is seen as either betrayal of principle or betrayal of strategy, as I am looking at it, it tells us something that is deeper. That the opposition is not simply debating tactics; it is debating identity. So it is now an issue of identity, an issue of who is a genuine opposition, who is a fake opposition. Who are the people who want to masquerade as opposition and yet they are opposition? So it is now more or less about identity. One person positioning themselves to be calling or wanting to be calling themselves that I am the genuine one. These other ones, they are not genuine. So you should never entertain them because they are not genuine. I am the genuine one. And the strong language, that is being used, right there. I might be wrong in trying to make a connection here. I might be wrong in trying to see the dealers and the crooks, connection here. But to me, that is all about the aspect of identity. And that right there being brought up in this moment, the moment of CAP 3, where there's a constitutional debate that is not happening in a vacuum, but happening within a political ecosystem where leadership legitimacy is being contested, where we are trying to build, coalitions, but these coalitions, these alliances are they are just fragile. And where as the citizens, we are found in no man's land wondering which is which. Where are we going as a people? Because what Nelson Chamisa's criticism here is critiquing a type of leadership without moral limits. And this echoes the very concerns that are being raised about the constitutional amendments. That we are saying, Kuti, they present a risk of entrenching power rather than distributing the power. So, when you look at his message, that leaders must know when to leave, that right there resonates far beyond party politics. He's talking about leaders and introspection. Reminisce, introspection. You've been in this game for a minute. But look, reminisce, look back. What have you achieved? What have you done? And where we are today, what has been your contribution? What have you contributed? Because what this can only add to us as mass citizens, it heightens our national anxiety about this issue of succession, accountability, and even the future democratic norms. So I'm sitting here with this complexity, trying to piece together or trying to find out which is which. I'm not trying here to be reducing Chamisa's stance to be that of era or hero, a heroism. No. But I'm saying let us interrogate what it means for the broader struggle of constitutionalism, civic agency, and the democratic renewal. That space, the opposition space, requires renewal. But do we have an ordained entity that should be leading that democratic renewal? Or it's time for people to introspect, look unto yourself, and consider your contribution to this democratic space or to this opposition space, and think hard about your contribution. What is it that you have contributed? What is it that you have done that has brought us to where we are finding ourselves today? Because whether you're going to see Chamisa's rejection as a principled or strategic stance, we are left with one fundamental question that we need to confront or that we need to deal with. And that question, ladies and gentlemen, as I finish, is what kind of an opposition does Zimbabwe need at this moment in this constitutional history of ours? Or you might want to say, what kind of leadership can carry that responsibility with both integrity and effectiveness? That is the conversation that we need to have. Those are the questions that we need to find answers to. Because when you see statements, coming out, like this, look at the trajectory or look at how these statements are being fed into the public domain. You can draw a picture. What picture you're going to draw, it is up to you. But I believe that there's something that we need to understand. And there's something that we need to deal with. There's something that we need to tackle as a people, as Zimbabweans, especially those who are sitting in the opposition ranks. Do we have an ordained entity that will take us to the promised land? Or we can work with what we have in terms of those that are pushing back against Cap 3 and call for unity and say, let us find each other as a people. Put our differences aside. Because the measure of genuineness, who is the one responsible for measuring that genuineness? Is it the political leaders or it is us as a people? But there are times when you have to set your differences aside and look at the bigger picture. You've got something that is threatening you right now. So should we stop a coalition with those that are saying, let us do this, and saying, we will not associate with you because you are crooks or you are deplorable individuals? And yet, on the other side, in terms of what needs to be done, it is only in words. It is not translating to action pertaining to that thing that is facing us as a Zimbabwean people. So which side, do we stand on? Where do we go from here? Who is in our corner? Or which corner should we be going to? Okay, these ones, they are discredited. But where this side is not discredited, is they are putting it across. But day in, day out, we are talking about stopping Cap 3. And the discredited side is the one that is making an effort to want to stop this thing. And the one that is not discredited, there isn't much, that is coming out of that corner. So where does that leave us, Isusu, Sema citizens, Sevana Zimbabwe?